But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother, again, with his brother is the most important phrase in this whole sentence. Without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. And we just saw this in the book of Enoch. Why? Because your brother bears the face of the Most High. And you cannot be angry with the face of the Most High. Who are you? You are his son. So how you could be mad at your own father? It's bastards. And whoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. And whoever shall say, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Because you are speaking to your brother who bears the image of the Most High. Therefore, you are inadvertently calling the face of the Most High. You would say, a fool? You be angry with the face of the Most High? Or you saying, Raka? You, whatever you trying to bring down upon your brother, you gonna reap the same judgment because you are doing it to the face of the Most High. This is why, again, when disciples show us the Father, I've been with you so long you don't know me. If you don't see that I'm the Father and the Father is in me, or I'm with the Father and the Father is in me. Like what you is, they didn't know the secrets of Enoch. Enoch revealed them to his children. And we all know that Enoch was a righteous man. But it goes back to the beginning. When Adam was made, he was made with the image and the likeness of the Most High. Then he sinned. And then an image was given to Jacob. And the brothers of Jacob bear the image of the face of the Most High. So you can't, when Esau was still trying to kill Jacob, he didn't say you fool. He wasn't angry with his brother. He didn't say Raka to his brother. He pleaded with his brother. He gave gifts to his brother. And even when his brother tried to say no, he said, take this, bro. Take this, because seeing your face is as if I seen the Most High's face. And he was pleased with me. So take this, you gotta take it. He made him take it. Scripture says he urged him to take it. Because Jacob was fulfilling scripture. Because he knew the ancient ways. And we are children of the light, children of the day, children of the Most High. We are in Psalm B. We're supposed to be like in Psalm B. And in Psalm B also said, the works that I do, you shall also do, and greater works than these. So we are supposed to be living up to that. We are supposed to be walking in our divine nature. And in your divine nature, you cannot be angry, talking foolish, talking crazy, cursing your own brother, because you would in fact be cursing the face of the Most High. And you gonna get that judgment on Judgment Day, as the scripture says. Which brings me to my final point, that Isaiah, we all know that he walked fully in his divine nature. So when he was speaking, he would speak according to the law, he would speak according to the Spirit. If you believe that he had no error in him, then you also believe that these people, the scribes and Pharisees, of whom he called fools, when he just said you should not call your brother fool, because you would be calling the face of the Most High a fool, these scribes and these Pharisees are not our people. If anyone tells you they are woefully mistaken, and you should run away from them, because they They deny everything they say. If you believe that the Messiah is who he is, and you see him saying, "Here, you fools," he's talking to the scribes and Pharisees after advising us to not say that it's against your brothers. How would these people be our brothers? And we're going to show you with the scriptures, then I'm going to get out of your hair, about how the scribes and Pharisees were not our brothers. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees. It's another thing, because he says not to, you're supposed to love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you. But remember, your enemies he's talking about are the enemies of your household. These scribes and Pharisees are not your of your household. So you see, he's cursing them. Woe is a curse. He's not showing them love. He said, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you compass sea and land to make one proselyte." They're trying to make a convert. And when he is made, you make him twofold of the child of hell than yourselves. Because you are not an Israelite. I know those who say they are Jews that are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Scribes and Pharisees, you're not. And you trying to go make people Jewish, talking about it's a religion, but no, either born a Jew or you're not. Woe to you, it's another curse, you blind guides, which say, whoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools, you blind. Is this not exactly what he said not to do against your brother? So if these people are our brother, why are you talking to me? Woe to you, blind guys, you can't see. Why would you wouldn't say that to the face of the Most High? The scribes and Pharisees are not the face of the Most High. They're not Israelites. If anybody tells you that they're Israelites, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Not even close. You fools and blind, for whether what is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? He's talking to the people who came and robbed us. They destroyed, they pillaged the Most High's temple. They took the gold for their own, and they set up their own temple. You can read about this in the book of Maccabees. We don't get there, but it's clear to see that unless you think the Messiah is, double-minded, that these scribes are not our brothers and sisters. They are not Israelites. As always, when proving something, we have to go to the Old Testament and verify to see if it is true. I made the claim that the Pharisees are not our brothers and sisters. I used the fact that the Messiah called them fools to do so when he told us not to say that to our brothers. So clearly, they are not. And this is why he said so. In the book of Kings, chapter 17, a king of Assyria came and took the Israelites into captivity. So when the Messiah was going to gather the lost sheep of the house of Israel, he's going into Samaria and he's dealing with these people who live in the land of Samaria, who live in the land of Israel. Okay, because the Most High, he took Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, king. And Jeroboam drove Israel from following Yah, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They did not depart from them, until Yah removed Israel out of his sight, as he said by all his servants the prophets. That's how Most High spoke. He spoke by the prophets. Right? So Israel, Israel, was carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So those Pharisees, those scribes, were not our people. Our people were carried away into Assyria unto this day. We were carried away into Babylonian territory. Israelites, the 9 tribes, they were carried away into Assyria to this day, right now. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, from Cutha, from Ava, from Hamath, and from Seraphim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Esau. Again, this is why he called them fools. This is why he called them blind. This is why he said woe to them. Because these people are Hamites that dwell in our land, the Phalasha people, or whatever. They dwell in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. So that's why he was saying, you fool, blind guys. Not Israelites. Don't let nobody ever tell you that they are. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And it was so that at the beginning of them dwelling there, that they did not fear Yah. Therefore Yah sent lions among them, and slew some of them, because these people are foreigners. The Israelites were carried away into Assyria unto this day. Okay? And people from, we're going to show you where these people from, because these are Hamites. And the Hamites lived in Samaria instead of the children of Esau. Samaria is Israel. Obviously, the first territory, Babylon, that goes without saying that that's Hamite territory. The Babylonians, they come from Ham, which is in Africa, right? And Cutha is a province in Assyria, and Assyria is Hamite territory. The next one is Ava, and it is a region of Assyria. That is Hamite territory. I wanted to go to the scriptures instead of using the Strong's Concordance, whatever, because we see that Zephaniah, one of the prophets, he was taken into captivity into Babylon, right? And then he tells us where where the Most High is chosen, his scattered people, from where and what location they would bring his offering. And we all know the scripture says, from beyond the rivers of Cush, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which is not Palestine, but it's the Congo, baby. And the captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 of the men that were in the king's presence, which were in the city, and a principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 70 men of the people that the land were found in the city. People of the land that were found in the city. And the Nebuchadnezzarian guard, the captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon, to Riblah. And he smote the king, and the king of Babylon, smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath, which is a Babylonian land, right? A Hamite land. So Judah was carried away out of their land. So if Hamath is a Babylonian land, and the scripture says that Zephaniah and them, there was beyond the rivers of Cush, the one beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. How in the hell is Palestine the place where our people live? Our people live beyond the rivers of Cush, near Ethiopia, which is way south of Egypt, as the scripture says. And Judah was carried away out of their own land into Babylonian lands, into territories near Cush, Ethiopia. Obviously, Zephaniah was not one of the people that was killed. Zephaniah got to come home, and he got to prophesy, and he said, from beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshippers, my scattered people will bring out. Cush is the same place as Ethiopia, and our people, it just said that we were taken away from our land and we're taken into Babylonian lands, the Hamat. And these are Hamites, and everybody knows the land of Ham is in Africa. Ethiopia is in Africa, so it's not even up for question that our people are from the Congo, from beyond the rivers of Cush, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And then the last place, it was Seraphim. And we can see again that Seraphim is a place in Assyria, and Assyria is Hamite territory. The Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10, you see these are Hamites, the sons of Ham were Cush, and Cush is Ethiopia. So that's where his land is, right? And Cush begot Nimrod, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babylon. Erech, Akkad, Calneh, the land of Shinar. And from that land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, and Calneh. So Assyria is near the land of Shinar, and Ethiopia is Cush. So if anybody tells you that Babylon is Iraq, goes into our scripture. Cush is in Ethiopia. That's where the land is, according to the scripture. And our people, when they were taken into captivity, they were taken into lands that are near Ethiopia, according to Zephaniah the prophet. So it's clear to see that those people that were in our land were not Israelites, they were Hamites. The king of Assyria placed people from Assyria in Samaria instead of the children of Israel. So when we see the New Testament, the Messiah, he calls the scribes and the Pharisees fools, blind, woe to them, doing all the things that he said not to do to your brother. You see why? Because those people are not our brother. They are from the other people of Adam, which the Most High says are like unto spittle. And the other Gentiles, he also says they are like a drop in a bucket, and they are like dust. Just to give you all a visual, you see Nubia, which is old Egyptian lands. You see the land of Shinar. You see Susa, right here, in Lower Nubia, and Abyssinia, which is modern day Ethiopia. And you see, even all this territory back in the day was counted as Ethiopian territory. So our people, when they went to captivity, this is the land of captivity that they went into. This is the land of Assyria, from beyond the rivers of Cush. Our people, and you see down here, this is the Congo. Palestine all the way up there somewhere. Ain't no way Moses could have married an Ethiopian wife if he all the way up there in Palestine. You have to be in the area of Ethiopia to marry an Ethiopian woman. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, as Zephaniah the prophet said. We're Congolese people. And we do know that the Levites, they were not just in Judah, they were scattered throughout all the tribes, right? That's what Jacob said that will happen to them because they had no portion amongst all the tribes. They belonged to the Most High, right? So the Levites that were in the territory of Israel before the king of Assyria took the house of Israel into captivity, the scripture says the Levites abandoned their pastures and their other land and moved to Judah and Jerusalem because King Jeroboam of Israel and his successors would not let them serve as priests to Yah. So the Levites did not go into captivity with the other tribes. They moved to Judah, to Jerusalem, and the Levites went into captivity with Judah and Jerusalem when we were all dispersed among the four nations, among, excuse me, the four corners of the earth. Jeroboam also built shrines in the high places and appointed every class of people as priests who were not Levites. So that's why the Levites left, because there were other people that Jeroboam and all his successors, they made whoever they wanted to priests, which is not lawful at all. Only Levites, the sons of Aaron, were the priests. So when the Levites saw this, the scripture that we just got done reading, it says they went to Judah and to Jerusalem in order to do the service that they were supposed to do to the Most High for all the Israelites. So when we read this next verse, back in when the king of Assyria, he took priests from from the captives and tried to teach them of the land. They did not know how to serve the Most High. And so we go back to when the king of Assyria took our people, the Israelites, into Assyria back in the day before the Messiah came on the scene. So, like I said before, when he's calling the people fools and blind guides, those people are not Israelites, they're Hamites who were been in our land way before the word came in the flesh. In that time, the king of Assyria commanded, saying, take there one of the priests whom you carried away into exile, and let him go and live there, and let him teach them the custom of the God of the land. So we saw that Jeroboam and all the people that came king after Jeroboam, they did not let Levites be priests. Matter of fact, the Levites left because they didn't let none of them be priests. So these priests that they took, they were not Levites. So when we keep reading, verse 28, it says, then one of the priests whom they carried away from Samaria came and dwelt there in Bethel and taught them how they should fear Yah. But these are Israelites, but they're not Levites. So they don't know the proper way to serve the Most High because they're not Levites. Howbeit, every nation made idols of their own and put them in the houses, in the high places, which the Samaritans, which remember that because in the New Testament, the Messiah was speaking to a Samaritan woman. And these are Hamites from the land of Assyria, placed in our land. Okay, this is what the scripture is saying. Which the Samaritans had made, every nation and their cities in which they dwelt. The men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Seravites burnt their children in the fire to Adrimelech, and Anamelech, and the idols of the Seraphim, the principalities of the Seraphim. So these are not Israelites doing these things. These are the people of Babylon. Cuth, Hamath, and Sepharvaim. Not Israelites at all. And the priests of that land, they were Israelites, but they're not Levites. So they're not, in fact, true priests. So they feared Yah and made unto themselves the lowest of priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. So the chief priests and all those other people that was planning to kill the Messiah, nowhere near Israelites. They're Hamites. Not our brothers. That's why the Messiah's woe to blind guides, fools, blah blah blah, all the things that he said, because these are Hamites. And those priests were not even priests. They're not even Levites. All the Levites went to Judah way before that. So it says, and they sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. So they feared Yah and served their own idols, and their own principalities. The own, the spirit that the Most High put over those nations from all from Assyria, after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from them. And to this day they do after this manner. They do not fear Yah, neither do they do after his statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law, the commandment which Yah commanded the children of Jacob, when he named Israel, with whom Yah made a covenant, saying, and charged them, you shall not fear other idols, other gods. Those are the principalities of those other nations. You should not bow yourself to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them, but to Yah, who brought you out of the land of Egypt with great power and with the outstretched arm. Him you shall fear, and him shall you worship, and to him shall you do all your sacrifice. So it is not right for us as Israelites to go sacrifice to other principalities when the Most High is our principality. He brought us out of Egypt. No other principality did that. So in doing that, he sent his word, which is how we get to them. Because nobody's ever seen the Father. He sent his word to us. So when the word tells us, obey the Most High, serve him. He's the one who sent you. You serve him. You belong to him. You belong to him. And then the other Israelite goes to another nation. That's idolatry. It's, what do you call it? Spiritual fornication, adultery, spiritual adultery. This is what the Israelites were doing. And he wrote, for you, and you shall observe them to do forevermore. You shall not fear other idols, other gods. Those people are the principalities of other nations. And the covenant that I made with you, you shall not forget. Neither shall you fear other gods. But Yah, your God, is whom you shall fear. And him you shall serve. And he shall deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. Howbeit, they did not listen, but they did after the former manner. So these nations feared Yah and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, and their fathers to this day. So these are the people who kept persecuting us. These Hamites, these Assyrians. When you read through the scriptures, the Assyrians helped the people of Tyre. We're going to get there. The Assyrians helped the people of Canaan. It was these Hamites. And that is why the Most High is bringing judgment upon these other nations. Because these other nations, they went into our land. They took our people. They took everything that was good in our land. They took it for themselves. And they gave no credit to the Most High. Them and their principality. That's why in the day of judgment, them and their principality have to be judged by the Most High, who, he put the principality over all the people. And those principalities did not do what they were ordained to do, which was give glory to the Most High. And he judges the nations. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall again bring the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, he's talking about our restoration, I will also gather all nations, the other nations, right? And he says, I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have parted among the nations and have parted my land. Scattered amongst the nations and parted my land. So we see clearly it was people of Assyria that came and divided the land of the territory of Israel, Samaria. And then it was the people of Tyre, the Romans and the Greeks, who came and took Judah into captivity and dispersed them over all the world through the transatlantic slave trade. It says, they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Yeah, what have you to do with me of Tyre and Zidon? These are the Canaanites, and these are Japheth, and all the coast of Palestine. So it's the Palestinians, the people who stay in Palestine, the people of Tyre. Those are the people that have transgressed against the Most High people. The people of Tyre have told us to the Greeks, right? And they had Hamites help them do it. Sidon, these are Canaanites. Will you render me a recompense? And if you render me recompense swiftly and speedily, I will return the recompense upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold and carried into your temples my goodly and pleasant things. The children of Judah and also the children of Jerusalem you have sold unto the Greeks, that you might move them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them, and return recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. For Yah has spoken. Proclaim this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, and let the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So this is the Most High, who is a man of war. He is calling out the Gentiles. Get ready. Get ready for war, because I'm coming for what y'all did to my people. And he says exactly how you sold my people into slavery, I'm going to sell your people into slavery to the hands of the people of Judah. And they're going to sell them to somebody far off. Just like how you sold us far off. For the mouth of Yah has spoken. So that's why in the book of Revelations, the Messiah says, he who takes into captivity shall go into captivity, and he who kills by the sword shall be killed by the sword. This is what it's talking about, the judgment of the nations, the judgment of the Gentiles, because we have been judged already. That's why we have been scattered to the four corners. But now he's about to restore us. And now when he's restoring us, he's going to judge the world. And he, the Most High, said, you shall no more rejoice, you oppressed virgin, you daughter of Zidon. Pass over to Kittim, and there you shall have no rest. This is the fulfilling of the prophecy that was spoken by Noah, that the Canaanites will be servants to Japheth. And Japheth is Tyre. That lets you know that Edomites are not white. They are Japheth. Japheth is not Shem. And he goes on to say, behold, the land of the Chaldeans this people was not, until the Assyrian founded it for them that dwelled in the wilderness. They set up the towers thereof, and they raised up the places thereof, and he brought it to ruin. Meaning the daughter of Zidon, they were not supposed to be in the land of Chaldeans. The land of the Chaldeans, or the land that's close to the land of Chaldeans, is the land of Israel, the Congo, beyond the rivers of Cush. My worshippers, my suppliants, shall bring my offering. But if you read the book of Jubilees, you see that the Canaanites, the daughter of Zidon, they moved into Shemites territory. They moved into the Congo. That's why it says, behold, the land of the Chaldeans, these people was not. These people moved into a territory that was not supposed to, till the Assyrian founded it for them that dwell in the wilderness. They helped them, their brothers, they helped them set it up. They set up, they found the towers of it. They raised up the places, the palaces thereof, but the Most High brought it to ruin. How did he bring it to ruin? By the Kittim, by Japheth, by the Romans, fulfilling the prophecy of Noah in the beginning, that Canaanites shall be servants to Japheth, and that Japheth would dwell in the land of Shem. Just like how it says in the book of Joel, the people of Tyre, the Romans, they had help from the inhabitants of Zidon to help sell us into captivity. The inhabitants of Zidon and of Arvad were your rowers, the people who were on the boat rowing to come down there to come get us. They had took these people into captivity, so the people, the Canaanites, were rowing the boats for them. Your wise men, O Tyre, were in you, and they were your pilots. So they was the ones who was, navigating the seaport. The people, the Canaanites, who were, when obviously they had already settled in the land of Congo, so they knew the ins and outs. So they showed their new masters, the Romans, where to go, and they brought us down with the help of the Canaanites, the Hamites. And as we saw before in the previous slide, the Assyrians helped the Canaanites set up the land in the Congo when they first took the land of Shem. So the Hamites, they were helping their brothers, and then when they were taken captive, they helped the Romans take us captive. With the help of the Assyrians, the Canaanites knew the land. So when the people of Tyre, they came down from the coast to come into the Congo, and they took the Canaanites into captivity, how it's written in the book of Isaiah, they already had people who knew the land of the Congo. Therefore, when it came time for them to take Judah into captivity, they knew where to go. With the help of the Assyrians, the Canaanites knew the land. So when the people of Tyre, they came down from the coast to come into the Congo, and they took the Canaanites into captivity, how it's written in the book of Isaiah, they already had people who knew the land of the Congo. Therefore, when it came time for them to take Judah into captivity, they knew where to go. That's why when you read the book of Daniel, and he talks about the beast that comes from the sea, he's talking about Tyre, as Joel prophesied. And the people that stay in Tyre are the Romans. It's the Romans, when you read the book of Maccabees, Antiochus, the dude, he was a Roman, but he was stuck in the kingdom of the Greeks, and he came out, and he's the one who wreaked all this chaos, the havoc, chaos on the first on the Hamites and then on us. And how we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 23, is that it was Tyre who came and took the Canaanites into captivity. And they used the same Canaanites that they took into captivity to come down and then take Judah into captivity. This is why the Most High says, what do I have to do with you, Tyre and Sidon? Because those two work together. All the coast of Palestine is what the scripture says. And they didn't take us into captivity from Palestine. They took us into captivity from the Congo. That's where Judah is. And it shall come to pass at the end of 70 years that Yah will visit Tyre, and she shall return to her hire, and shall commit fornication with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. So clearly we can see that Tyre is Mystery Babylon. That's wrote about in Revelations, who commits fornication with all the kingdoms of the earth. This is Mystery Babylon that is full of singers and full of blah blah blah. That's going to be taken down in the last days when the Most High is giving out his judgment to the nations. Let's see the scripture again. In the beginning, the table of nations, Genesis, it's talking about Japheth, who is not, he's not Shem. So Tyre, the people who live in Palestine, Ashkenaz, they're not Shem. They're Japheth. Make no mistake about it. Anybody who says otherwise is contrary to scripture and should not be listened to. Now, the sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tyrus, which is Tyre, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rithah, Togarmah, and the sons of Javal, which are the Greeks, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. So you can see that Tyre is Japheth. And according to the prophet Isaiah, when the people of Zidon were taken into captivity, they were taken into Kittim. They were taken by Tyre and they were sold to Greeks. The sons of Javan are the Greeks. And when we read the so-called New Testament, we see that Judah was taken into captivity. Judah and Jerusalem was taken into captivity by the Gentiles. Jerusalem was trodden down by the Gentiles until the Gentiles would be fulfilled. It's the people of Tyre, and they were sold to the people of Javan, Kittim. So this is what Japheth did. So the Most High, as he said in the book of Revelations and in the book of Isaiah, he is going to judge the people of Tyre and all the coast of Palestine, which is what he also said to the book of Joel, his prophets. The book of Revelations is no new thing. It's just bringing back the Old Testament. And we go to the book of Maccabees, which is also before the Messiah came in the flesh. And verse 10, it talks about the Romans who were in the kingdom of the Greeks and what they began to do. It says, there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome, which means he's a Roman, and he reigned in the 137th year in the kingdom of the Greeks. So a Roman is ruling in the kingdom of the Greeks. So verse 20. And after Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned in the 140th year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. And he proudly took the sanctuary and took the golden altar and the menorah of light and the vessels thereof and the tables of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. And he took the silver and gold and the precious vessels. He took the hidden treasures which he found, and when he had taken all away, he went into his own land. So this is what was prophesied in the book of Joel, how the people of Tyre, the Romans, they went in and took all the Most High's precious jewels, and they took them into their own temples. So they did not remain in our land. They went back to their own land, back to the land of Kittim, which was how it says in the scriptures, the Romans was in the kingdom of the Greeks. And when he went to his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly, therefore there was great mourning in Israel. In every place they were, that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the women was changed, and every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land was also moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king Antiochus, he sent his chief collector of tribute into the cities of Judah, who came to Jerusalem with a great multitude, and he spoke peaceable unto them. But it was all deceit, for when he had given them credence, he suddenly fell upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses of the walls on every side, which is exactly what was spoken of through Jeremiah the prophet, how Jerusalem was made a den of jackals. It was trampled on, how it says in the book of in the New Testament. It was trampled on by the Gentiles, the people of Tyre, the Romans who were living in the kingdom of the Greeks. And then they took the women and children captive, and they possessed the cattle. And then they built the city of David with a great and strong wall, which is the Wailing Wall that they had. They built this in Palestine. They built the city of David in Palestine, and with mighty towers, and they made it a stronghold for them. In his own land, he took all of our stuff, he set our city on fire, and he went back to his own land. He did not remain in the Congo. From beyond the rivers of Cush is where the Most High's people are found. But these people, they went back up to Palestine. And in 1948, they made Palestine with our gold that they took from the Congo. And they destroyed the Congo. Research the Congo Conference, which is also called the Berlin Conference, which took place way before Palestine was made the so-called state of Israel, where there was no Bantus, no people of color in sight, where Europeans, they parted the land. They took the Congo for themselves. They did what they wanted to Just like how it's written in the book of Joel, nobody parted Palestine. They made it up for them. They parted the Congo. That's the Berlin Conference. It's the Congo Conference. So research it and let the spirit of Congo be in you, and stop searching for the spirit of Palestine or the spirit of America or the spirit of the, Philippines. So not only do we have the people of Tyre, the Gentiles, as it is written in the so-called New Testament, that trod down Jerusalem, Judah. When we go back to the Old Testament, we see that the people who were in the land of Samaria, the land of Israel, were so-called Samaritans. And these Samaritans were not Israelites. They were people of Assyria. They were Hamites. So when the Messiah is going in his time, and he's going to go, find the scattered house of Israel, the lost sheep, he runs into a Samaritan woman, and that woman is not an Israelite. As we read the scripture, that woman was a Samaritan, aka a woman of Assyria, a Hamite. That's why, scribes and Pharisees, those people, they were called fools and such and such. Woe unto them, blind guides. See Isaiah and the Samaritan woman, a woman of Assyria. This is what's going on in the so-called New Testament. So if anyone tries to tell you that these are the house of Israel and they forgot they was Israelites or whatever, no. These people were people of a whole different nation. People of Assyria who set themselves up as priests and scribes in our own land. Therefore, when they knew that the Pharisees heard that Isaiah was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although Isaiah himself didn't baptize. He never baptized anyone with water. He baptized people with spirits and with fire, which is the word, as it is written in the prophet of Jeremiah chapter 23. The Most High's word is fire. But his disciples did. He left Judah and went to Galilee. And he needed to pass through Samaria. So he's going through the territory of Israel. So he came to a city of Samaria called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to Joseph, his son. Jacob's well was there. Isaiah, therefore, being tired from his journey, sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour. And a woman of Samaria, a woman of Assyria, came and draw water. And Isaiah said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away in the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman therefore said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask for me a drink, a Samaritan woman? For the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." So this is how we talk about when Peter was talking about how when he saw Cornelius, he's like, he was hesitant to eat because, Jews did not deal with anybody but Jews. So if anybody thought that this was an Israelite woman, they were clearly mistaken. This is a woman of Assyria, a Samaritan woman, the people who were in our lands, who were put there by the king of Assyria way before Isaiah was made manifest in the flesh because of the disobedience of the kings of Israel. We were replaced by men of Assyria. That's why this woman is saying, we don't deal with y'all, y'all don't deal with us, because we're not the same people. In this particular verse, the woman, the Samaritan woman, she says to Isaiah, she says, "Why do you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here at Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worship?" You see, they knew in this day and in this translation, which is different than the KJV, that these people were not the same people. They knew that the Samaritans were not Israelites. They were the Hamites who had settled in our lands due to the captivity of the Israelites by the king of Assyria. If you remember what was said to the prophet Isaiah, it was said to him that our people, the house of Israel, they rejected the waters of Shiloh. And everybody knows that Shiloh is in Jerusalem, which is the place where our people worship. So the Israelites, before they went into captivity, they knew that, what do you call it? Jerusalem was the place to go for worship. But the scripture says they rejected the waters of Shiloh. They chose Rezin and Remaliah, they chose people of Assyria. So the Most High gave them the people of Assyria and took them into captivity and replaced them with people of Assyria into their land. And they changed the place of worship to Mount Gerizim. This is where the Samaritans worship. But the Israelites, the Jews, we knew that Jerusalem was the place of worship. And this is why you should always check different translations. Do not rely on the KJV. Do not rely on any one translation, because these people took crafty counsel. They put some truth here, they took some truth out from there, they added in a little bit there. So you really have to test everything by the Spirit, because the Most High's spirituality cannot be kept in one book. Even all the miracles that Josiah did, it says he did so many that even the world of books would not be able to contain them. And still he said we were supposed to do more and greater works than him. That is the promise to the Jews, who are supposed to be walking in our divine nature. The Samaritans were never given this knowledge, this information, because the word did not come to them. The word only came to the Jews. This is why he straight up told the woman. He said, "You Samaritans do not know what you worship. We know what we worship, because salvation is of the Jews." If your people were not scattered into all four corners, why would you need to be brought back into your own home? The promise is to the Jews that I'm going to gather all the Israelites, all the scattered people, and I'm going to bring them back to your own land. The Gentiles are already in their homeland. We are scattered amongst them. So the salvation that is promised is to the Bantus, to the Israelites, because we are promised to go home. The Most High swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob, your seed, I will give your seed this land. I'm going to make your seed as numerous as the stars, and I'm going to place them into the land that I swore to their forefathers. This is the promise to the seed of Jacob. But the Samaritans, who are not Israelites, they worship at Mount Gerizim because they don't know what they worship. They don't have our principality. The Most High gave them the principality of Assyria. But the Most High gave the Jews, all the children of Jacob, he is their principality. He is their portion, as the scripture says in the book of Deuteronomy. And again, different translations show the full truth. The KJV took this little part out. They edited it to fit the Masoretic point of view. This is why he straight up told the woman. He said, "You Samaritans do not know what you worship. We know what we worship because salvation is of the Jews. If your people were not scattered into all four corners, why would you need to be brought back into your own homeland? The promise is to the Jews that I'm going to gather all the Israelites, all the scattered people, and I'm going to bring them back to your homeland. The Gentiles are already in their homeland. We are scattered amongst them. So the salvation that is promised is to the Bantus, to the Israelites, because we are promised to go home. The Most High swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob, your seed, I will give your seed this land. I'm going to make your seed as numerous as the stars, and I'm going to place them into the land that I swore to their forefathers. This is the promise to the seed of Jacob. But the Samaritans, who are not Israelites, they worship at Mount Gerizim because they don't know what they worship. They they don't have our principality. The Most High gave them the principality of Assyria, but the Most High gave the Jews, all the children of Jacob, he is their principality. He is their portion, as the scripture says in the book of Deuteronomy. And again, different translations show the full truth. The KJV took this little part out. They edited it to fit the Masoretic point of view. Clearly, we can see that the Pharisees, the chief priests, the scribes, these people were not Israelites. They were the people of Assyria who were placed in the land of Samaria, aka the land of Israel, due to the Assyrian captivity by the king of Assyria. So when the Messiah was going to search for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, these are the people that he had to come in contact with. The chief priests, remember, if you go back in the scriptures, these priests were not even Levites, but these people were anybody who they wanted to make priests. So remember, the Levites, because of Jeroboam and all his successors, they did not set up Levites as priests to the Most High. Therefore, the Levites, they went to Judah and Jerusalem. And then the king of Syria, he brought some of the Israelites and who set themselves up as priests. They're not Levites. And they had them teach the Gentiles the laws of the land. And the Gentiles were the people that were the priests in the land. This is the Hamites, the chief priests, the Pharisees, the Samaritan woman. These are people of Assyria. And these are the people who wanted to, as the title says, to kill Josiah. And in this translation, you will see the difference between the real Jews, the Jewish nation, and the Pharisees, the Samaritans that were in the land who wanted to kill Josiah. Therefore, many of the Jews, our people, the Israelites, who had come to visit Mary, his mom, had seen what Josiah did, and they believed him. But some of the Israelites went to the Pharisees. They went to the people of Assyria and told them what Josiah did. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. So the people of Assyria, the people, like when we go back into the Old Testament, 2 Kings chapter 17, these priests were people of those nations. The scriptures, remember, it says they did not fear the Most High, they had their own idols, and every people of every different nation, from Babylon, from Kuth, from Hamath, Seraphim, from Ava, they did whatever they wanted to, and none of them, they don't serve the Most High. And they said, what are we accomplishing? Here this man is performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. Then the Romans, the people of Tyre, will come and take away both our temple and our nation, which is the one that they set up. It is not our people. It's the one they set up in the book of Maccabees. It says, then one of them, named Caiaphas, one of them, not our people, who was a high priest that year, spoke up and says, you know nothing at all. You do not realize that it's better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Josiah would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of Israel, to bring them together, to make them one. So this is what the Hamites were doing. They took crafty counsel. They said, instead of the Romans coming to take us away, and in order to stop him from gathering the scattered people, because obviously these Pharisees, they're not Israelites, otherwise they would have been for the gathering of our people. From that day they plotted to take his life. Not Israelites. Our problem was, as we read in the top, some of the Israelites, they went and told the Pharisees what he was doing. And that's when they took, we had a meeting. And what is he doing? He doing all this. We got to do something. And they were sweating about what they're going to do, because they want the Romans to come take their nation away. And Caiaphas, this dude, he is the one who said that they should kill Josiah. Instead of them, the Romans come and take them away. And so he wouldn't gather our people. Kill him. And if anybody believes that, if anybody tells you that these people are our people, they don't know the scriptures. So with that I say, peace and blessings. May the Most High increase you in his truth, in his spirit, and may all things be done for the glory, for the Kimbo of Tatanzaki. Indeed.